Bienvenidos al curso de inglés definitivo de Vaughan. Lección 12. Nivel principiante.
Gimnasia verbal. There are some, there aren't any. Annie, hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Fine too.
Good. Pues hoy vamos a presentar algunas palabras nuevas, entre ellas chimney, que significa...
Chimenea.
Lo importante aquí es no decir chimney, sino chimney. Chimney.
Chimney.
Chimney, eso es. Luego, curtains,
Cortinas.
toys,
Juguetes.
toy soldier,
Soldadito.
toy truck,
Camioncito.
un juguete también,
Ujú.
a toy car
Un cochecito.
y shelves.
Estanterías.
Muy bien, pues vamos a trabajar estas mismas palabras y a la vez trabajar la expresión there are, que significa hay, pero en plural. La semana pasada vimos there is, que es nuestra versión de I en singular. There is one, pero there are two, ¿vale? A diferencia de lo que hacéis en español, nosotros distinguimos entre el plural y el singular aquí, ¿vale?
Vale.
Vamos a ver primero unos ejemplos en afirmativo y vamos a trabajar también el uso de some. There are some chimneys, there are some curtains, there are some toys, there are some shelves. ¿Qué significa?
Varios.
Varios, sí, algunos o unos, ¿ok? Muy bien, entonces yo te voy a decir unas frases y quiero que me las traduzcas al inglés.
Ok.
¿Te parece?
Vale.
Por ello, entonces. Hay unos sillones en la habitación.
There are some armchairs in the room.
Bien, there are some armchairs in the room. Hay unas mesas en el restaurante.
There are some tables in the restaurant.
Good, there are some tables in the restaurant. Es muy importante pronunciar la palabra some como lo acabo de hacer yo. Some y no some. Some.
Some.
Es un sonido de vocal que no existe en castellano. Some, ¿ok? Hay unos gatos en la calle.
There are some cats in the street.
There are some cats in the street. Good. Hay unas revistas en la mesa.
There are some magazines on the table.
There are some magazines on the table. Muy bien. Hay unos libros en las estanterías.
There are some books on the shelves.
There are some books on the shelves. Fenomenal. Hay unos vasos en la mesa.
There are some glasses on the table.
Muy bien. Pues ahora vamos a centrarnos en unos cuantos ejemplos en negativo. En este caso, no podemos decir there aren't some, sino some se tiene que convertir en any. There aren't any dogs. There aren't any cats. ¿Vale? Que no
Vale.
hay perros, no hay gatos. No hay perros en China, por ejemplo. There aren't any dogs in China. ¿Ok? No hay bolígrafos en mi oficina.
There aren't any pens in my office.
There.
There.
There. Ajá. There aren't
There aren't
any pens in my office.
any pens in my office.
No hay sillas en la habitación.
There aren't any chairs in the room.
Good. No hay manzanas en el suelo.
There aren't any apples on the floor.
No hay elefantes en Inglaterra.
There aren't any elephants in
Qué
England.
pena, ¿no? No hay gente en el aeropuerto.
There aren't any people.
There.
There.
Otra
there.
vez.
There aren't.
There.
There.
No me mires así. ¿eh? There aren't any people in the airport. Repeat.
There aren't any people in the airport.
Good. Pues ahora toca el interrogativo. Y una vez más tenemos que recurrir al uso de la palabra any.
Ok.
Are there any? Por supuesto, invertimos are y there. There are two se convierte en are there two para preguntar. Are there two? Are there any? Are there any books? Are there any cats? Are there any dogs? ¿Está claro?
Está clarísimo.
Good. ¿Hay libros en tu maletín?
Are there any books in your briefcase?
B y B. Books in your briefcase. Las B's son mucho más fuertes.
Books.
Eso es. ¿Hay teléfonos en el edificio?
Are there any phones in the building?
Muy bien. ¿Hay lámparas en tu habitación?
Are there any lamps in your room?
¿Hay sobres en esta oficina?
Are there any envelopes in this office?
¿Hay barcos en Madrid?
Are there any ships in Madrid?
¿Hay gente contigo?
Are there any people with you?
Muy bien, pues ahora vamos a fijarnos en el dibujo, en la imagen que aparece en la página 13 y tendrás que contestar a unas preguntas sobre esta misma imagen.
Vale.
¿Vale? Y esta vez vamos a mezclar tanto el singular como el plural. There is y there are.
Ok.
¿Vale? Is there a chimney in the room?
Yes, there is.
Yes, there is. Good. Chimney significaba.
Chimenea.
¿Y cómo se pronuncia?
Chimney.
¿Y cómo no se pronuncia? Chimney.
Chimney.
¿Vale? Chimney, 2 sílabas, nada más. Muy bien. Are there any toys on the floor?
Yes, they are.
No, they are not.
Sorry.
There are. Sí que hay. Yes, there are. Again.
Yes, there are.
Good. How many toys are there? Pues esta es una pregunta nueva. How many significa cuántos. ¿Cuántos juguetes hay? How many toys are there? There are 4. Repeat.
There are 4.
There are 4. Muy bien. How many toy soldiers are there?
There are 2.
There are 2. Muy bien. How many toy trucks are there?
There is 1.
There is 1. Muy bien. Has cambiado de there are a there is para el singular. Perfecto. Are there any curtains in the room?
Yes, there are.
Good. Curtain significaba?
Cortinas.
Good. Curtain se pronuncia. Is there a sofa in the room?
Yes, there is.
Yes, there is. Good. Is there a table in front of the sofa?
Yes, there is.
Muy bien. Are there any magazines on the table?
Yes, there are.
How many magazines are there on the table?
There are 3.
Good. How many armchairs are there?
There are 2.
There are 2. Again.
There are 2.
There are 2.
There are 2.
There are 2. Nunca podemos contraer there are, ¿ok? There are, siempre. There are 2.
Okay, there are 2.
Are there any books in the room?
Yes, there are.
Pues perfecto. Gimnasia verbal. Some. Vamos a centrarnos ahora en la palabra some, que significa algunos o algo de. Y además vamos a ver 4 palabras nuevas. Empezando con cigarettes, que significa ani.
Cigarrillos.
Muy bien. Cigars,
Puros.
packet
Paquete.
y box.
Una caja.
Una caja, fenomenal. Yo te voy a hacer un montón de preguntas sobre dónde está cada cosa, ¿vale? Por ejemplo, where are the cigars? Y tú me dirás, some are on the table and some are in the box, ¿vale?
Okay.
Okay, where's the wine? Pues some is in the bottle and some is in the glass. Ojo aquí, wine no es contable, por lo que hay que utilizar el singular. ¿Eh? Some is in the bottle and some is in the glass. Okay?
Okay.
Where are the cigarettes?
Some are on the table and some are in the packet.
Some.
Some.
Eso es. Some are on the table and some are in the packet. Where's the water?
Some is in the bottle and some is in the glass.
Good. Water también es incontable, por lo que hay que utilizar el singular. Some is in the bottle and some is in the glass. Where are the books?
Some are on the table and some are on the chair.
Bien. Where are the pencils?
Some are on the table and some are on the chair.
Muy bien. Ahora te voy a retar a traducir unas cuantas frases del castellano al inglés. Algunos niños son altos y algunos son bajos. Muy profundo esto, ¿eh?
Some children are tall and some are short.
Muy bien, no hace falta repetir children. Some children are tall and some are short. Muy bien, alguna gente es baja y alguna es alta.
Some people are short and some are tall.
Muy bien. Y otro, todavía más profundo. Algunos aeropuertos son grandes. Escucha, ¿eh? Y algunos son pequeños.
Some airports are big and some are small.
Good. Algunos países son ricos y algunos son pobres.
Some countries are rich and some are poor.
Muy bien. Algo del dinero es tuyo y algo de ello es mío.
Some money is yours and some is mine.
Algunas ciudades son grandes y algunas son pequeñas.
Some cities are big and some are small.
Small, no small.
Small.
Some cities are big and some are small. Algunos ríos son largos y algunos son cortos.
Some rivers are long and some are short.
Some rivers.
Some rivers.
Again.
Rivers.
Muy bien. Some rivers are long and some are short. Algunos autobuses son rojos y ¿adivina qué? Algunos son verdes.
Some buses are
Buses, no buses.
Some buses are red and some are green.
Good. Algunos coches son grandes y algunos son pequeños.
Some cars are big and some are small.
Algo del agua está en el vaso y algo de ella está en el suelo.
Some water is in the glass and some is on the floor.
Muy bien. Algunos bolígrafos son azules y algunos son negros.
Some pens are blue and some are black.
Algunos libros son largos y algunos son cortos.
Some books are long and some are short.
Algunas oficinas son grandes y algunas son pequeñas.
Some offices are big and some are small.
All right. Vocabulario. Los números ordinales. Ani, empezamos con una mala noticia.
No me digas, ¿por
Sí,
qué?
es que en inglés utilizamos los números ordinales muchísimo. Muchísimo más, de hecho, que en español. Y ya sabes lo difíciles que son en español. Por ejemplo, ¿quién sabe decir el número 93 en ordinal?
Ujú.
Pues yo desde luego no. Ok, pero la buena noticia es que en inglés resultan ser mucho más fáciles, quitando algunas excepciones como el primero, segundo, tercero. The first, the second, the third. De ahí en adelante, más o menos, simplemente añadimos una th al número. 4 se convierte en fourth. 8 se convierte en eighth. 10 se convierte en tenth.
Ok.
Etcétera, etcétera. El número 21º, por ejemplo, sería the 21st, 22º, the 22nd, 23rd, the 23rd, y luego volvemos a 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th. Lo importante, por supuesto, es sacar la lengua, ¿vale?
Vale.
Vamos a hacer un ejercicio, entonces, repasando todo un mes, ¿vale? De la siguiente manera. Monday the 1st, Tuesday the 2nd, Wednesday the 3rd, ¿vale? Es nuestra forma de decir las fechas que en sí requiere el uso de los números ordinales, ¿vale?
Vale.
Ok, te toca. El lunes día 1,
Monday the 1st.
el martes día 2,
Tuesday the 2nd.
Tuesday, no Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Tuesday the 2nd.
Tuesday the 2nd.
Good. El miércoles día 3.
Wednesday the 3rd.
El jueves día 4.
Thursday the 4th.
Sigue.
Friday the 5th.
The 5th.
5th.
Eso es.
Saturday the 6th.
Bien.
Sunday the 7th.
Sunday the 7th. Monday the 8th.
Monday the 8th.
Tuesday the...
9th.
Sigue. El miércoles día 10.
Wednesday the 10th.
El jueves día 11.
Thursday the 11th.
El viernes día 12.
Friday the 12th.
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 Eso es, muy bien. El sábado día 13.
Saturday the 13th.
Sigue.
Sunday the 14th.
Sunday the 14th.
Monday the 15th.
Good.
Tuesday the 16th.
Muy bien.
Wednesday the 17th.
Good.
Thursday the 18th. Friday the 19th. Saturday the 20th.
Saturday the 20th. Good. Ahora, cuando se trata del día 21, no decimos 21th, como decía antes, sino el 21st. The 21st, ¿vale? Entonces, el domingo día 21,
Sunday the 21st.
el lunes día 22,
Monday the 22nd.
22nd, good, y no 22th, por supuesto. El martes día 23,
Tuesday the 23rd.
good. El miércoles día 24,
Wednesday the 24th.
the 24th, good. Sigue.
Thursday the 25th.
5th,
5th.
again,
25th.
good.
Friday the 26th. Saturday the 27th.
Good.
Sunday the 28th. Monday the 29th. Tuesday the 13th. Wednesday the 31st.
Good. Y el jueves 32.
No existe 32.
Es verdad. Repaso de la entrega anterior. La clave del éxito. There is, there's.
¿Hay un aeropuerto en Benavente?
Is there an airport in Benavente?
No hay una manzana en la mesa.
There isn't an apple on the table.
Hay una silla en la habitación.
There's a chair in the room. Los días. What day is before Wednesday?
Tuesday is before Wednesday.
What day is between Friday and Sunday?
Saturday is between Friday and Sunday.
What day is after Monday?
Tuesday is after Monday.
Vocabulario.
Hay una naranja sobre la impresora.
There's an orange on the printer.
¿Hay agua en la botella?
Is there any water in the bottle?
Sí, hay agua en la botella.
Yes, there is some water in the bottle. Near and far from. Is Almería near Madrid or far from Madrid?
It's far from Madrid.
Is Collado Mediano near Madrid or far from Madrid?
It's near Madrid.
Is Móstoles near Madrid or far from Madrid?
It's near Madrid.
Vocabulario.
No hay un supermercado cerca de mi casa.
There isn't a supermarket near my house.
¿Hay un aeropuerto cerca del centro comercial?
Is there an airport near the shopping centre?
Hay una estación de metro cerca de mi casa.
There's a metro station near my house. Vocabulario. How many? Vamos a hacerte un montón de preguntas más con how many para que te familiarices definitivamente con esta expresión, ¿vale? How many significa...
¿Cuántos o cuántas?
Muy bien, perfecto. Y haremos, por supuesto, otras preguntas también con there are.
Ok.
Y there is. Todas las preguntas se centrarán en la imagen que aparece en la página 23, ¿vale?
Vale.
Are there any books on the chair?
Yes, they are.
There are, not they are.
Yes, there are.
They are es ellos son. No, esto es sí hay. Yes, there are. Again.
Yes, there are.
How many books are there on the chair?
There are 3.
Good. Are there any pencils on the table?
Yes, there are.
How many pencils are there on the table?
There are 2.
There are 2. Good. Are there any magazines on the chair?
No, there aren't.
Are there any cigarettes in the packet on the table?
Yes, there are.
Good. How many cigarettes are there in the packet on the table?
There are 4.
There are 4. Good. Are there any apples on the table?
No, there aren't.
Are there any pens on the table?
No, there aren't.
Are there any glasses on the table?
Yes, there are.
How many glasses are there on the table?
There are 2.
Good. Are there any bottles on the table?
Yes, there are.
How many bottles are there on the table?
There are 2.
There are 2. Good. Are there any books on the table?
Yes, there are.
How many books are there on the table?
There are 2.
Good. Are there any pencils on the chair?
Yes, there are.
How many pencils are there on the chair?
There are 3.
Are there any cigars in the box on the chair?
Yes, there are.
How many cigars are there in the box on the chair?
There are 2.
There are 2. Good. Ahora te toca a ti hacer unas cuantas preguntas con how many, ¿vale?
Vale.
Traduciendo las siguientes preguntas. ¿Cuántas provincias hay en España?
How many provinces
Muy bien.
are there in Spain?
¿Cuántos estados hay en Estados Unidos?
How many states are there in the United States?
Good. In the United States. Good. ¿Cuántos días hay en una semana?
How many days are there in a week?
¿Cuántas semanas hay en un año?
How many weeks are there in a year?
In a year, no a year, a year.
A year.
A year, eso es. ¿Cuántos elefantes hay en tu casa?
How many elephants are there in your house?
Gimnasia verbal. How much? Acabamos de ver la expresión how many, que significa cuántos y cuántas. Ahora vamos a ver su equivalente para preguntar sobre sustantivos no contables. Y es how much. Significa obviamente cuánto.
Ok.
Cuánto agua, cuánto vino, cuánto pan, cuánto dinero. ¿Vale? How much. Y para trabajarlo vamos a preguntar sobre el dinero. Recuerda que el dinero, desde el punto de vista gramatical, no es contable. ¿Vale? Por lo que siempre lleva el singular del verbo. ¿Vale?
Vale.
Entonces, si te fijas en la página 27, verás que hay una serie de cuentas bancarias y el correspondiente dinero que hay en cada una de ellas. Vamos a hacer una serie de preguntas sobre estas mismas cuentas, ¿vale?
Vale.
¿Cuánto dinero hay en la cuenta número 17? Sería how much money is there in account number 17? Hay $27 en la cuenta número 17.
There's $27 in account number 17.
Muy bien, y has utilizado encima el singular del verbo, there is. ¿Por qué? Porque como decíamos antes, el dinero no es contable desde el punto de vista gramatical. Muy bien. ¿Cuánto dinero hay en la cuenta número 33?
How much money is there in account number 33?
Good. Hay $346 en la cuenta número 33.
There's $346 in account number 33.
Muy bien, cambiamos.
¿Cuánto dinero hay en la cuenta número 412?
How much money is there in account number 412?
Hay $35 en la cuenta número 412.
There's $35 in account number 412.
¿Cuánto dinero hay en la cuenta número 98?
How much money is there in account number 98?
Hay $628 en la cuenta número 98.
There's $628 in account number 98.
¿Cuánto dinero hay en la cuenta número 587?
How much money is there in account number 587?
Hay $477 en la cuenta número 587.
There's $477 in account number 587.
¿Cuánto dinero hay en la cuenta número 55?
How much money is there in account number 55? Repaso. There are some, there aren't any.
Hay unos juguetes en el suelo.
There are some toys on the floor.
No hay revistas en la mesa.
There aren't any magazines on the table.
No hay niños en el parque.
There aren't any children in the park.
¿Hay niños en el coche?
Are there any children in the car?
¿Hay vasos en la mesa?
Are there any glasses on the table? Some.
Algunos países son grandes y algunos son pequeños.
Some countries are big and some are small. ¿Cómo se dice chimenea?
Chimney.
Good.
Algunas calles son largas y algunas son cortas.
Some streets are long and some are short.
¿Dónde están los puros?
Where are the cigars?
Algunos están en la caja y algunos están en el suelo.
Some are in the box and some are on the floor. ¿Cómo se dice camioncito?
Toy truck.
A toy truck. Good.
Algunas bicicletas son azules y algunas son amarillas.
Some bicycles are blue and some are yellow.
Algunos trenes son largos y algunos cortos.
Some trains are long and some are short. ¿Cómo se dice juguetes?
Toys.
Toys. Números ordinales.
El jueves, día 11.
Thursday the 11th.
El viernes, día 12.
Friday the 12th.
El sábado, día 13.
Saturday the 13th. ¿Cómo se dice estanterías?
Shelves.
Shelves, muy bien.
El domingo, día 14.
Sunday the 14th.
El lunes, día 15.
Monday the 15th.
El martes, día 16.
Tuesday the 16th. How many?
¿Cuántos parques hay en Aranjuez?
How many parks are there in Aranjuez?
¿Cuántos bancos hay en esta calle?
How many banks are there on this street?
¿Cuántos relojes hay en tu habitación?
How many clocks are there in your room? ¿Y cómo se dice cortinas?
Curtains.
Curtains, well done. How much?
Hay $107 en la cuenta número 55.
There's $109 in account number 55.
¿Cuánto dinero hay en la cuenta número 30?
How much money is there in account number 30?
No hay dinero en la cuenta número 30.
There isn't any money in account number 30. Annie, ahora toca Grand Finale. Good. Donde mezclamos todo lo aprendido hoy. ¿Estás preparada?
Por supuesto.
Bien. Vamos a ir muy rápido para variar. Hay unos sofás en mi habitación.
There are some sofas in my room.
Sofas.
Sofas.
There are some sofas in my room. Again.
There are some sofas in my room.
¿Cómo se dice? Soldadito.
Toy soldier.
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 Soldier. Again.
Tom
No, Tom no. Podría llamarse Tom.
Toy soldier.
¿Tú ponías nombres a tus soldaditos de plomo? Mira, este es Tom y esto es Bob. Vale, algunos países son ricos y algunos son pobres.
Some countries are rich and some are poor.
El miércoles 27.
Wednesday the 27th.
No hay gatos en Japón.
There aren't any cats in Japan.
¿Cómo se dice paquete?
Packet.
Packet, goods. ¿Hay bolígrafos en esta oficina?
Are there any pens in this office?
El domingo día 28.
Sunday the 28th.
¿Cuánta gente hay en España?
How many people are there in Spain?
¿Cómo se dice soldadito?
Toy soldier.
¿Y cómo se llama el tuyo? Tom Soldier. ¿Cuántas semanas tiene un mes? ¿O cuántas semanas hay en un mes?
How many weeks are there in a month?
¿Cómo se dice cochecito?
Toy car.
¿Y cómo se llama? ¿Hay algún libro sobre la silla?
Are there any books on the chair?
El viernes 13.
Friday the 13th.
¿Cómo se dice caja?
Box.
Hay unas mesas en la oficina.
There are some tables in the office.
Some, y no some. Some, again.
Some. There are some tables in the office.
Perfecto, muy bien, Annie. Pues muchísimas gracias y nos veremos la semana que viene. No olvides estudiar.
No lo olvidaré, no lo olvidaré.
Venga, bye bye.
Bye.
Bienvenidos al curso de inglés definitivo de Vaughan. Lección 12. Nivel intermedio.
Gimnasia verbal. El presente perfecto. Annie, how are you today?
Fine. What about you?
I'm fine, and I'm raring to go. We're going to look at the present perfect today. The present perfect is a tense we use when we're talking about an incomplete time period. Today is an incomplete time period. It started at 12 o'clock at night, and it's continuing. This year is another incomplete time period. It started in the past, on the 1st of January, and it's still going on.
Okay.
How do we form the present perfect? Well, we form it using the verb to have as an auxiliary verb, plus the past participle. I have done, you have done, he has done. And the normal thing here, of course, is to contract the subject and the verb have. Okay, let's look at some examples with different incomplete time periods, starting with today. He hecho muchas cosas hoy.
I've done a lot of things today.
Good, I've done a lot of things today. Excellent. Pronunciaste muy bien done. Mucha gente dice done y esto es incorrecto. Hay que decir done. I've done a lot of things today. No he hecho mucho hoy.
I haven't done much today.
No he visto a Juan hoy.
I haven't seen Juan today.
Cambiamos a this morning. Otro periodo de tiempo incompleto. Y ya sabéis todos que grabamos esto por las mañanas. The secret's out. No he parado esta mañana.
I haven't stopped this morning.
Jenny no ha venido esta mañana.
Jenny hasn't come this morning.
No han venido esta mañana.
They haven't come this morning.
Let's look at this week, another incomplete time period. This week, esta semana. Empezó el lunes y seguimos. He leído 5 informes esta semana.
I've read 5 reports this week.
No he leído el periódico esta semana.
I haven't read the paper this week.
No he escrito a mi padre esta semana.
I haven't written to my father this week.
Good. Now with this year, another incomplete time period. Whenever we're talking about an incomplete time period, we use the present perfect. Está claro, ¿no? He cambiado de puesto 2 veces este año.
I've changed position twice this year.
He ido al extranjero 3 veces este año.
I've been abroad 3 times this year.
I've been abroad 3 times this year. Muy bien. Many, many times when in Spanish you say he ido, we in English use the verb to be. I've been.
Okay.
Okay? In the present perfect. I've been abroad. He ido al extranjero. No he ido a Badajoz este año.
I haven't been to Badajoz this year.
Good. Another expression which requires the use of the present perfect is so far, which literally means hasta ahora, or a esta altura de la mañana, de la semana, del año, de lo que sea. Let's look at a few examples then. Hasta ahora no he tomado café esta mañana. Sería, so far this morning, I
Haven't had any coffee.
Well done. So far this morning, I haven't had any coffee. Hasta ahora, he comido 3 galletas hoy.
So far today, I've eaten 3 biscuits.
Good. Biscuits, biscuits. Bien. A estas alturas de la semana, he asistido a 8 reuniones.
So far this week, I've attended 8 meetings.
Hasta ahora, este año, he gastado demasiado dinero en ropa.
So far this year, I've spent too much money on clothes.
Good. We always spend money on things and never in things in English. Hasta ahora, este año, Keith ha gastado más de €1,000,000 en el jardín de su mansión.
So far this year, Keith has spent more than €1,000,000 on the garden of his mansion.
Very good. Now we're going to look at the past simple versus the present perfect. We're going to compare something that happened in a closed period of time with something that happened in an open period of time. For example, last year and this year. With last year, we use the past simple. When we're talking about this year, we use the present perfect. For example, el año pasado gané 2 premios, pero este año no he ganado ninguno.
Last year, I won 2 awards, but this year, I haven't won any.
Good. Last year I won 2 awards, but this year I haven't won any. Ayer hablé con 3 personas, pero hoy no he hablado con nadie.
Yesterday, I spoke to 3 people, but I haven't spoken to anyone today.
Good. La semana pasada compré 2 libros, pero esta semana no he comprado ninguno.
Last week, I bought 2 books, but I haven't bought any this week.
Esta semana Peter ha hecho 2 pasteles, pero la semana pasada no hizo ninguno.
This week, Peter has made 2 cakes, but last week he didn't make any.
Cambiamos.
Hoy han invitado a 3 personas, pero ayer no invitaron a nadie.
Today they've invited 3 people, but yesterday they didn't invite anyone.
Hoy hemos encontrado 2 errores, pero ayer no encontramos ninguno.
Today we found 2 mistakes, but yesterday we didn't find any.
Ayer John me llamó 2 veces, pero hoy me ha llamado 8 veces.
Yesterday, John called me twice, but today he's called me 8 times. Can you believe it? La expresión de la semana. To hear of someone. Today's expression actually requires the present perfect, and it means oír hablar de alguien. Okay? I've heard of someone. To hear of someone. For example, he oído hablar de él. Sería I've heard of him. ¿Has oído hablar de Casanova? Have you heard of Casanova? Okay?
Okay.
Let's look at some more examples then. He oído hablar de ello.
I've heard of it.
I've heard of it. Nunca he oído hablar de ellos.
I've never heard of them.
Nunca he oído hablar de algo parecido.
I've never heard of anything like it.
Good, I've never heard of anything like it. ¿Has oído hablar de esa condición?
Have you heard of that condition?
He oído hablar de ella.
I've heard of her.
I've heard of her. Good. Nadie ha oído hablar de ti.
Nobody's heard of you.
Nobody's heard of you.
Heard of
Heard,
you.
not heard. Heard.
Heard of
Again?
you. Nobody's heard of you.
Oh dear. Gimnasia verbal, to have never done something. When we talk about something we've never done, we always use the present perfect. I've never been there, I've never seen that, I've never eaten that. I'm going to ask you now a series of absurd questions, the answer to all of which, I guess, will be no.
Okay.
Things you've never done, I would imagine. So, let's go. Have you ever drunk 3 litres of petrol for breakfast?
No, I've never drunk 3 liters of petrol for breakfast. test.
I should hope not. Have you ever spoken Russian with George Bush?
No, I've never spoken Russian with George Bush.
Have you ever skied naked?
No, I've never skied naked.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Well, when you do, you have to tell me. And I'll come skiing with you. Have you ever eaten giraffe pate on toast?
No, I've never eaten giraffe pate on toast.
Have you ever sung in Japanese in front of 300,000 people?
No, I've never sung in Japanese in front of 300,000 people.
Have you ever driven Fernando Alonso's car along the Castellana in Madrid?
No, I've never driven Fernando Alonso's car along the Castellana in Madrid.
Good. Have you ever taught the King of Spain English?
No, I've never taught the King of Spain English.
Have you ever understood why the English drive on the other side of the road?
No, I've never understood why the English drive on the other side of the road.
Have you ever spoken to a snail? Have you? You haven't, have you? You've spoken to a snail? I can't believe it.
No, I've never spoken to a snail.
What's a snail?
Caracol.
Un caracol. Good. Have you ever slept with a rhinoceros? Come on, you can tell me.
No, I've never slept with a rhinoceros.
A rhinoceros.
A rhinoceros.
Have you ever heard of Jackie Riddleton Pobbs?
No, I've never heard of Jackie Riddleton Pops.
Have you ever made a cake with 30,000 eggs?
No, I've never made a cake with 30,000 eggs.
Have you ever lived in a walnut?
No, I've never lived in a walnut.
Una pregunta magistral, ¿no? What does walnut mean?
Una bellota. Una
Nuez.
nuez.
Sí, a walnuts. Phrasal verb, to look for. How do we say to look, Annie?
Mirar.
And buscar,
To look for.
to look for. It's not very obvious, is it? But anyway, that's the verb we use, to look for something. ¿Qué estás buscando?
What are you looking for?
Estoy buscando mi cartera.
I'm looking for my wallet.
I'm looking for my wallet. Lo puedes buscar todo el tiempo que quieras, pero nunca lo encontrarás.
You can look for it as long as you like, but you'll never find it.
Good. Estoy buscando un nuevo profesor de inglés. El anterior solo me ponía redacciones.
I'm looking for a new English teacher. The last one just gave me reading exercises to do.
Good. ¿Me puedes ayudar a buscar mis lentillas? Que sería my contact lenses.
Can you help me look for my contact lenses?
Can you help me look for my contact lenses? Well, when we found them, we'll go on with the next point. Vocabulario. Let's look at 8 more words, starting with sharp, which means
Afilado.
thick.
Algo grueso o espeso.
Good. To doubt,
Dudar.
actually,
En realidad.
no significa actualmente. Actualmente sería currently. Actually es en realidad. Good. To advise,
Aconsejar, asesorar.
crowded,
Abarrotado.
to shout,
Gritar.
and weed.
Mala hierba.
A weed, muy bien. Ten cuidado con esa cuchilla. Está muy afilada.
Be careful with that knife. It's really sharp.
Be careful with that knife. It's really sharp. Lo siento, estoy un poco espeso esta mañana.
Sorry, I'm a bit thick this morning.
Dudo que estuviera diciendo la verdad.
I doubt he
I
was...
doubt.
Doubt.
La B es muda, ¿eh? Muy importante.
Doubt. I doubt he was telling the truth.
En realidad, no podría decir si estaba diciendo la verdad o no.
Actually,
Actually,
Actually, I couldn't tell if he was telling the truth or not.
¿Me puedes aconsejar sobre mi declaración de la renta, por favor?
Can you advise me on my tax return, please?
Good. El supermercado estaba completamente abarrotado. Fue una pesadilla.
The supermarket was absolutely crowded. It was a nightmare.
No me grites así.
Don't shout at me like that.
Don't shout at me like that. Good. El jardín está lleno de malas hierbas.
The garden is full of weeds.
Good. Gimnasia verbal. El presente perfecto en el interrogativo. I don't need to present this point then, do I? It's quite obvious what we're going to do. We're going to ask lots and lots of questions in the present perfect. How do we form the question in the present perfect, Annie? We simply invert the verb have with the subject, you, he, she, whichever. Okay?
All right.
Has terminado sería have you finished? Okay? Has comido. Have you eaten? Has ido a Escocia? Have you been to Scotland? Okay?
Okay.
So let's look at some more then. Han hablado con Malcolm.
Have they spoken to Malcolm?
¿Ha hecho él sus deberes?
Has he done his homework?
¿Has hecho las tareas de casa?
Have you done the housework?
¿Has empezado la novela?
Have you started the novel?
¿Has llamado a Susan?
Have you called Susan?
¿Te han arreglado el coche?
Have they fixed your car?
Good. ¿Has visto a Henry?
Have you seen Henry?
Have you seen Henry? Good. Okay, we're going to look now at some more questions in the present perfect, this time using the word ever. Ever means alguna vez. When we say alguna vez or ever, we're talking about our lives. Our lives are another incomplete time period. They started in the past and they are continuing, hopefully for quite a long time. So, what you need to do is look at the main component parts of a series of questions which appear on the left-hand side of the page in those little boxes, or pastillas, if you like. And of course, cover the right-hand page. Por ejemplo, tú comer oreja de cerdo sería, alguna vez, obviamente, have you ever eaten pig's ear? Is that clear?
Yeah.
All right then. Ella, jugar al tenis en el césped.
Has she ever played tennis on grass?
Ellos, conocer a Roger y Sally.
Have they ever met Roger?
Have they ever met?
Have you ever met Roger and
Have
Sally?
they ever met?
Have they ever met Roger and
Roger?
Sally? Roger.
Roger and Sally, good. ¿Has hablado alguna vez con Tony Blair?
Have you ever spoken to Tony Blair?
¿Hemos tenido alguna vez una discusión?
Have we ever had an argument?
¿Él le ha ganado a Nadal alguna vez?
Has he ever beaten Nadal?
Good. ¿Has encontrado alguna vez 5 euros en un taxi?
Have you ever found 5 euros in a
Euros.
taxi? Euros.
Euros. ¿Ella te ha contado alguna vez un secreto?
Have she ever told you a secret?
Has she ever told you a secret?
Has she ever told you a secret?
¿Ellos han ido a Francia alguna vez?
Have they ever been to France?
Have they ever been to France? Otra vez utilizando el verbo to be en vez de go aquí. ¿Has nadado alguna vez en un fiordo?
Have you ever swum in
Swum?
Have you ever swum in a
Fjord?
fjord?
Good. ¿Frank ha hecho alguna vez un pastel?
Has Frank ever made a cake?
¿Ellos han tenido un gato alguna vez?
Have they ever had a cat?
Have they ever had a cat? Good. Repaso de la entrega anterior. La clave del éxito. Too and enough.
Hay demasiados autobuses en la ciudad.
There are too many buses in the city.
No soy lo suficientemente listo para hacer una tortilla.
I'm not clever enough to make an omelette. ¿De quién?
¿De quién es el teléfono?
Whose telephone is it?
No sé de quién son las gafas de sol.
I don't know whose sunglasses they are. Vocabulario.
La humanidad ha logrado grandes cosas.
Mankind has achieved great things.
Aprendí a silbar cuando era pequeño.
I learnt how to whistle when I was small. Verbos irregulares.
En los 70, una casa en Saint-Tropez costaba una fortuna.
In the 70s, a house in Saint-Tropez cost a fortune.
En los 70, gané un premio de dibujo.
In the 70s, I won a prize for drawing. Phrasal verb.
Has asumido muchos riesgos este año.
You've taken on a lot of risks this year. What's the weather like?
Hace frío y viento.
It's cold and windy.
Cae granizo.
It's hailing. Expresión de la semana.
¿Nos puedes ayudar a decorar el sábado?
Can you help us do some decorating on Saturday? Verbos irregulares. Let's look at 3 more verbs then. The verb to teach, the verb to catch, and the verb to spend. Teach means enseñar, catch, coger, agarrar o atrapar, and spend, gastar o pasar tiempo. Okay, we'll start with our normal little warm-up exercise.
All right.
Just looking at very basic sentences. Todos los días te enseño.
Every day I teach you.
Ayer te enseñé.
Yesterday I taught you.
I taught, not touched. I taught, como tortilla.
Taught.
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 Again?
Yesterday I taught you.
Good. Forget the GH. The GH is simply there to annoy you.
Okay.
It doesn't do anything, okay? Taught. Últimamente te he enseñado.
Lately I've taught you.
Good. Lately and not ultimately. Ultimately means en última instancia, okay?
All right.
It's a false friend. So lately, últimamente. Todos los días cogemos el autobús.
Every day we catch the bus.
Y ayer cogimos el tren.
Yesterday we cut the train.
Caught.
We caught.
Como taught. Taught, caught. Caught, like la corte, okay?
Okay.
Caught. Again?
Yesterday we cut the train.
Caught.
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 Caught. Yesterday we cut the train.
Caught.
Caught.
Sí, pero lo dices bien, pero luego cuando haces el ejemplo lo haces fatal, Ani. Hazlo otra vez.
Yesterday we cut the train.
¿Ves? Lo cambias. We caught.
Caught. Caught.
Lo dices perfecto, pero...
Yesterday we caught the train.
Eso es.
Okay.
Again.
Yesterday we caught the train.
Good. Últimamente hemos cogido el metro.
Lately we've got the metro.
Good. When we use lately, of course, we also use the present perfect. Lately, we've caught the metro, just as you do in Spanish. ¿Eh? Todos los días gastéis dinero.
Every day you spend some money.
Y ayer.
Yesterday you spent some money.
Y últimamente.
Lately you've spent some money. money.
Good. Ayer él les enseñó.
Yesterday he taught them.
Taught, not that.
Taught.
Again.
Yesterday he taught them.
Good. Últimamente nos han enseñado.
Lately they taught us.
Lately they've taught us. Good. Todos los días cogen el autobús.
Every day they catch the bus.
Últimamente has cogido un resfriado.
Lately you've
You've caught a cold.
Lately you've caught a cold.
Good. Ayer pasé mucho tiempo estudiando.
Yesterday I spent a lot of time studying.
Good. Studying.
Studying.
Últimamente he pasado tiempo fuera del país.
Lately I've spent time out of the country.
Country. Good. Let's look at some more examples now, alternating between in the 90s, which means in los años
90.
Good. And in this decade.
En esta década.
Okay. And of course, when we're talking about the 90s, we have to use the past simple. However, when we're talking about this decade, we need to use the present perfect. Why? Because this decade hasn't finished yet. Okay, so it's an open or incomplete time period. All right then, en los años 90, cogí el autobús todos los días.
In the 90s, I caught the bus every day.
Good. En esta década, he cogido el autobús solo 2 veces.
In this decade, I've only caught the bus twice.
Good. En los años 90, gasté una fortuna.
In the 90s, I spent a fortune.
En esta década, he gastado mucho menos.
In this decade, I've spent
In
much.
this decade.
In this decade.
This. Estás diciendo this. This.
In this decade, I spent much less.
I've spent.
I've spent much less.
Again.
In this decade, I've spent much less. Spent.
Okay. En los años 90 cogieron muchos criminales.
In the 90s, they caught a lot of criminals.
They caught.
They caught. In the 90s, they caught a lot of criminals.
En esta década no han cogido tantos criminales.
In this decade, they haven't caught so many criminals.
Good. En esta década no hemos pasado tanto tiempo con nuestros amigos.
In this decade, we haven't spent so much time with our friends.
Our friends, not our friends.
Our friends.
Our friends, good. En los años 90 enseñé al presidente de una multinacional.
In the 90s, I taught the president of a multinational.
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 Okay, multinational or multi. A multinational.
A multinational.
En esta década no he enseñado a ninguna gente importante.
In this decade, I haven't taught any important people.
Good, well, except for you, of course.
A continuación, escucharemos el párrafo de la semana.
He's the stubbornest man I've ever met. I spent 7 hours with him yesterday, and I still don't think I was able to change his mind on even the smallest details. Thank God I don't have to deal with him very often. It would drive me crazy.
He's the stubbornest man I've ever met. I spent 7 hours with him yesterday, and I still don't think I was able to change his mind on even the smallest details. Thank God I don't have to deal with him very often. It would drive me crazy.
Números. Entendiendo los números en contexto. It's really, really important to be able to understand numbers. One thing is being able to use them, and another thing is being able to identify a number in a more complex context. So we're going to work at this. I'm going to give you some rather long sentences, and I want you to simply identify the number of whatever we are talking about. Okay?
Okay.
It doesn't matter if you don't understand every single word. The important thing is just to identify the number. Okay? I don't know what you made it, but I counted at least 15 vultures hovering around the sheep carcass. Entonces, ¿cuántos buitres volaron alrededor del cadáver?
¿Unos 15?
Unos
No,
15.
al menos 15.
Al menos 15. Muy bien. I need you to send me about 300 new red folders for the marketing department. Entonces, aproximadamente ¿cuántas carpetas necesito?
Aproximadamente 300.
Good. The return ticket will set you back £417 exactly. ¿Cuánto te costará el billete de ida y vuelta?
470 pounds.
No, 417. 417. Be careful, between 17 and 70.
Okay.
The funny thing was, over 40 people witnessed the crime. ¿Cuántas personas fueron testigos del crimen?
40.
Sí, over 40.
Más de 40.
Exactly, más de 40. That'll be $153 for the service, which includes $30 for labor costs. ¿Cuánto te va a costar la revisión de tu coche?
$153.
Good. ¿Y cuánto cuesta la mano de obra?
$30 más.
Good. We're going to need 117 chairs for the banquet. ¿Cuántas sillas vamos a necesitar entonces participantes para el banquete?
117 sillas.
Good. I know you don't think it's a good idea, but if we can manage to get at least 75 people to come along, we can cover costs. ¿Cuántas personas tienen que venir para cubrir costes?
75 por lo menos.
Muy bien. I've got 59 emails to answer. ¿Cuántos correos electrónicos tengo que contestar?
59.
Good. That book costs well over £100. ¿Cuánto cuesta el libro?
Más de 100 euros.
Más,
no,
más.
más de 100 pounds.
Sí, bastante más, ¿eh? Well over. Well over significa bastante más. Okay.
Ok.
30 should be enough. ¿Cuántos necesitamos?
30 será suficiente.
Muy bien. Repaso. El presente perfecto.
He visto 3 películas hoy.
I've seen 3 films today.
El teléfono no ha dejado de sonar esta mañana.
The phone hasn't stopped ringing this morning.
Patricia ha escrito 5 informes esta semana.
Patricia has written 5 reports this week. ¿Cómo se dice grueso?
Thick.
Thick. Good.
No he cambiado el aceite de mi coche este año.
I haven't changed the oil in my car this year.
Hasta ahora me he tomado 2 cafés esta mañana.
So far this morning, I've had 2 cups of coffee. To have never done something. Have you ever flown to the moon?
No, I've never flown to the moon.
Have you ever swum in a tank of lemonade?
No, I've never swum in a tank of... Swum. No, I've never swum in a tank of lemonade.
Have you ever hit yourself with a stick?
No, I've never hit myself with a stick.
¿Cómo se dice dudar?
To doubt.
To doubt. Good. Con una B silenciosa. Have you ever dreamt in Turkish?
No, I never dreamt. No, I've never dreamt in Turkish.
Have you ever died?
No, I've never died.
Have you ever written a poem in Aramaic?
No, I've never written a poem in Aramaic.
Vocabulario.
Te voy a aconsejar sobre tu futuro.
I'm going to advise you about your future.
En realidad, nunca grito.
Actually, I never shout.
El hacha estaba muy afilada.
The axe was very sharp. ¿Cómo se dice mala hierba?
Weed. El cine estaba abarrotado.
The cinema was packed.
Dudo que salgan con esta lluvia.
I doubt they'll go out in this rain.
No comí la sopa porque estaba muy espesa.
I didn't eat the soup because it was very thick. El presente perfecto en el interrogativo.
¿Has visto alguna vez un ovni?
Have you ever seen a UFO? UFO stands for Unidentified Flying Object, by the way. Por cierto.
¿Has hablado alguna vez con Julio Iglesias?
Have you ever talked to Julio Iglesias? ¿Cómo se dice abarrotado?
Crowded.
Good.
¿Ellos han volado alguna vez en un globo?
Have they ever flown in a balloon? Verbos irregulares.
En los años 90 pasábamos más tiempo con nuestros amigos.
In the 90s, we spent more time with our friends.
Ayer ella cogió el tren.
Yesterday, she caught the train.
Todos los días paso tiempo con él.
Every day, I spend time with him. Expresión de la semana.
Él nunca ha oído hablar de ti.
He's never heard of you. ¿Cómo se dice en realidad?
Actually.
Actually, good.
¿Has oído alguna vez hablar de Exeter?
Have you ever heard of Exeter?
No, I haven't.
It's a very nice town in the south of England, the southwest of England. Interesting.
Interesting.
Grand finale. Okay, it's that time when we just go through absolutely everything we've looked at today. And as we usually do, we're going to do it really fast. Okay?
I'm ready.
You don't mind, do you?
No.
Okay, let's go then. Hasta ahora no he comido ninguna galleta hoy.
So far today, I haven't eaten any biscuits.
Again?
So far today, I haven't eaten any biscuits.
¿Cómo se dice gritar?
To shout.
Good. He buscado las llaves de mi coche en todas partes.
I've looked everywhere for my car keys.
Hasta ahora, esta semana, solamente he terminado 2 artículos.
So far this week, I've only finished 2 articles.
Good. ¿Cómo se dice asesorar?
To advise.
To advise, con una V.
Advise.
Eso es. Have you ever eaten a zebra?
No, I've never eaten a zebra.
Esta semana he vendido 3 coches, pero la semana pasada no vendí ninguno.
This week, I've sold 3 cars, but last week I didn't sell any.
Good. ¿Has comprado alguna vez un abrigo de piel?
Have you ever bought a fur coat?
Perfect. ¿Cómo se dice afilado?
Sharp.
¿Te gustaría un cuchillo afilado?
Would you like a sharp knife?
Este año Kate ha salido con 2 chicos, pero el año pasado no salió con ninguno.
This year, Kate has gone out with 2 boys, but last year she didn't go out with any.
Muy bien. ¿Qué está buscando ella?
What's she looking for?
¿Me puedes aconsejar?
Can you advise me?
Good. Ellos nunca han oído hablar de Internet.
They've never heard of the internet.
Well done, Annie. Fantastic. Excellent stuff. Thank you very much for listening then. And of course, you'll be hearing from us very soon. But don't forget to study at least 20 minutes every day. Okay?
Okay.
All right then. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bienvenidos al curso de inglés definitivo de Vaughan. Lección 12. Nivel avanzado.
Gimnasia verbal. It depends. Annie, how are you today?
Fine, thanks. And you?
I'm fine. I've got a bit of a blocked up nose.
What's that?
Que estoy algo constipado. Por cierto, by the way, we should never say I'm constipated, because if you say I'm constipated, it means que estás estreñido. Okay, so you say I'm blocked up. I've got a blocked up nose.
Okay,
Estoy
good to know.
algo constipado. It's important to know. I always remember the first time I went into a chemist in Spain and someone said, estoy algo constipado. And I thought, eso no se dice. Pero bueno, then I learned the lesson. Okay, so constipado is blocked up, or to have a blocked up nose. Let's get back to depend. Many Spaniards have problems when they say depende de, because they say it's depend, or it depends in, it depends of, or it depend without the S. In English, it's always the same. It depends on plus a substantive, plus a noun. Okay? It depends on the weather. Depende del tiempo. Depende del tráfico. It depends on the traffic. Very easy, but don't forget the final S at the end of depend. Okay? Let's have a go then. Depende del tiempo.
It depends on the weather.
Good. Depende de los resultados electorales.
It depends on the election results.
Depende de la añada del vino, que sería the year simplemente.
It depends on the year of the wine.
Good. Depende de la estación del año.
It depends on the season.
On the season. Good. And not the station. The station, of course, is estación.
Estación.
Pero una estación de trenes o
Tren.
de autobuses. Good. Depende de la aerolínea que elijas.
It depends on the airline you choose.
You choose.
You
Más
choose.
fuerte.
You choose.
Más fuerte. Choose.
Choose.
Choose, eso es. Good. Okay, depende de su actitud.
It depends on his attitude.
No, attitude. No actitude. Attitude. There is
Attitude.
no C in English. No actitude, okay?
Okay, attitude.
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 Good. Good stuff. Cambiamos.
Depende de la comida que comas.
It depends on the food you eat.
Depende de la forma en que le preguntes.
It depends on the way you ask him.
Depende del tipo de altavoces que utilices.
It depends on the type of speakers you use.
Depende de la hora del día.
It depends on the time of day.
Depende de su humor.
It depends on her mood. Okay, so what's the most important rule here? Depend ends in an S. It depends, and it's followed by on when we're using a noun.
All right.
It depends on something. Okay, when you say depende de si, okay, depende de si, we wouldn't say it depends if. It's much more common to say it depends whether. Whether is a synonym of if.
Okay.
It means exactly the same thing, and we use it often with depends. It depends whether you do this or not.
All right.
Okay, weather is spelled W-H-E-T-H-E-R, but it's pronounced exactly the same as the weather,
El
i.e.
tiempo.
El tiempo. Muy bien. Okay, let's have a go then. Depende de si viene mi hermana o no sería it depends whether my sister comes or not. Okay? It's funny because Spaniards never ever use the word weather. They always say if. And Brits and Americans, we use weather a lot. Okay?
All right.
Depende de si quieres invertir en la bolsa o en la construcción.
It depends whether you want to invest in the stock market or in the property.
Or in property, we say.
Or in
We don't say
property.
in the property. Good.
Okay.
In property. Good. Depende de si tengo tiempo o no.
It depends whether I have time or not.
Very good. Depende de si se llevan bien o no.
It depends whether they get on with each other or not.
Good. They get on or they get along with each other. Muy bien. Depende de si quieres visitar el norte o el sur.
It depends whether you want to visit the north or the south.
Good. Cambiamos.
Cambiamos. Depende de si piensan que la idea es buena o mala.
It depends whether they think the idea is good or bad.
Depende de si utilizas gasolina o diésel.
It depends whether you use petrol or diesel.
Depende de si tienes coche o no.
It depends whether you have a car or not.
Depende de si quieren comprar una casa o alquilar un apartamento.
It depends whether they want to buy a house or rent a flat.
Depende de si naciste en los 70 o en los 80.
It depends whether you were born in the 70s or in the 80s.
Good stuff, Richard.
Thank you. I'm getting better, aren't I? Okay, we'll move on now to the next point, which is it depends what, which in Spanish would translate as depende de lo que. Okay, It depends what. The only problem here is what follows is always an indirect question. So we would never say it depends what do you do. We would say Simply, it depends what you do. Okay, subject, verb after it depends what, always. Okay, depende de lo que diga el jefe sería it depends what the boss says. Okay, let's have a go then, Annie. Depende de lo que quieras hacer con el resto de tu vida.
It depends what you want to do with the rest of your life.
Good. Depende de lo que haya comido en el desayuno.
It depends what I've eaten for breakfast.
It depends what I've eaten for breakfast. Good stuff. Depende de lo que consideres una buena oferta.
It depends what you call a good offer.
Good. What you call a good offer rather than what you consider a good offer. What you call a good offer. Muy bien. Okay, the same thing happens when you say in Spanish, depende de dónde. We would say it depends where. Más sujeto, más verbo. Y jamás it depends where does he go. Okay? It depends where he goes, simplemente. Depende de dónde elijas ir de vacaciones.
It depends where you choose to go on holiday.
Depende de dónde quieras ir esta noche.
It depends where you want to go tonight.
Depende de dónde lo compremos.
It depends where you buy it.
De dónde lo compremos nosotros. It depends where
We buy it.
we buy it. Good. Depende de dónde construyan el nuevo estadio.
It depends where they build the new stadium.
New stadium, muy bien. The same thing happens, of course, when you say in Spanish, depende de cuándo. We say, Annie?
It depends when.
It depends when. And of course, what follows when is an indirect question.
Okay.
We would never say, it depends when do you go.
Okay.
Depends when you go. Sujeto verbo. Y ya está. Depende de cuándo termine de leer el informe. Sería, it depends when I finish reading the report. Okay? Your turn now. Depende de cuándo le liberen de la cárcel.
It depends when they release him from prison.
Good. When they release him. Good. Depende de cuándo deje de llover.
It depends when it stops raining.
It depends when it stops raining. Good stuff. Depende de cuándo quieras casarte.
It depends when you want to get married.
Fantastic. Just to wrap up then, what's the golden rule with it depends?
It's followed by the preposition on.
On when you're talking about a noun. It depends on the weather. Okay? Depende de sí sería it depends whether. Y depende de cuándo sería it depends when. Depende de dónde, it depends.
Where?
Good. Y depende de lo que, it depends.
What?
Muy bien. La expresión de la semana. To be in charge of. To be in charge of means ser el responsable de algo. Okay? We don't say to be the responsible for. Responsible is only an adjective in English. You can't be a responsible. Okay? You can be a manager or you can be in charge of something or someone. Okay, let's have a look then. Sam está a cargo del departamento de marketing. Sería Sam's in charge of the marketing department. Okay?
Okay.
Annie then. Estoy a cargo del control de calidad.
I'm in charge of quality control.
I'm in charge of quality control. Good. ¿Quién está al mando?
Who's in charge?
Good. And here, because it's not followed by the object, we don't need to include the preposition of. Who's in charge?
Okay.
We wouldn't say who's in charge of.
All right.
Because when you say of, you have to follow it by whatever you're in charge of. Who's in charge of marketing? Who's in charge of accounts? Okay? John estará a cargo en mi ausencia.
John will be in charge in my absence.
Good. ¿Quién está encargado de las bebidas?
Who's in charge of drinks?
Estoy a cargo de este proyecto desde que comenzó.
I've been in charge of this project since the beginning.
Estoy a cargo de toda la gente que trabaja en logística.
I'm in charge of all the people working in logistics.
Muy bien. ¿Puedo hablar con la persona encargada, por favor?
Can I speak to the person in charge, please?
In charge?
In charge.
In charge. Sí, y speak, y no speak.
Speak.
Can I speak? Again, can I speak?
Can I speak to the person in charge, please?
In charge.
In charge.
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 Charge. You have to drop your jaw. Bajar
Charge.
la mandíbula.
Okay.
Charge.
Charge.
Eso es. ¿Eres tú el encargado de aquí?
Are you in charge here?
Charge. Para abajo.
Are you in charge here?
La mandíbula para abajo. Again.
Are you in charge
Eso
here?
es. Good stuff. Gimnasia verbal, EG and IE. We're going to look at two abbreviations now, both of which come from Latin, and both of which we use an awful lot in spoken English.
Okay.
EG basically means, for example. Muy bien. And IE is another way of saying is decir.
Es decir,
Exactly, okay? We say IE, not IE. IE.
allí,
No, IE.
allí,
Allí.
allí.
Casi como allí, pero como un allí inexistente.
Okay.
IE, good. Annie, what we'll do now is we'll do this exercise the other way round, okay? You can do the Spanish, and I'll do the English so that you get an idea of the typical intonation we use when we say these little abbreviations, okay? E.g. and I.e. Okay, Annie, the first one.
Hay varias cosas que no me gustan de él. Por ejemplo, su arrogancia, su forma de hablar y sus modales.
There are several things about him I don't like, e.g., his arrogance, the way he speaks, and his manners.
Me apetece leer algunas obras de teatro de Shakespeare durante las vacaciones de verano, como por ejemplo Hamlet, Othello o Twelfth Night.
I feel like reading several Shakespeare plays over the summer holidays, e.g. Hamlet, Othello, and Twelfth Night. Let's look at IE now.
Ese barrio no es seguro, es decir, que no es una buena idea ir allí de noche.
That neighborhood isn't safe, i.e. it's not a good idea to go there after dark. So as you can see, we're basically saying the same thing twice when we use IE. When we use EG, of course, we're just giving examples, specific examples, okay?
All right.
The next one then.
Tu idea nunca tendrá éxito, es decir, que estás perdiendo el tiempo.
Your idea will never take off, i.e. you're wasting your time.
Tendrás que hablar con la persona encargada, es decir, con Amanda.
You'll have to speak to the person in charge, i.e. Amanda.
Mi nuevo móvil es muy complicado, es decir, que es imposible entenderlo.
My new mobile is really user-unfriendly, i.e. it's impossible to understand. Phrasal verb, to wriggle out of. To wriggle is a delightful little word. To wriggle means no estar quieto, but to wriggle out of means escabullirse de algo. Okay? The W, of course, is completely silent. To wriggle. Can you say it?
Wriggle.
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 Me encanta este verbo. In fact, it's true of me. I never stop wriggling. No me puedo estar quieto. Okay, let's go then. Siempre intenta escabullirse de nuestras reuniones semanales. Sería, he's always trying to wriggle out of our weekly meetings. Notice that I'm saying wriggle out, as if it were one word. Wriggle out of.
Wriggle out of.
Good. ¿Cómo lograste escabullirte de la cita que tenías con esa chica?
How did you manage to wriggle out of the date you had with that girl?
The date. Más fuerte del T. The date.
With the date.
Okay, to wriggle out of the date
Of
you
the
had
date.
with... Again?
How did you manage to wriggle out of the date you had with that girl?
Good. Ella se escabulló de pagar sus copas.
She wriggled out of paying for her drinks.
Wriggled out. Wriggled out. Como estamos hablando en el pasado, wriggled out.
Wriggled out.
Eso es. Wriggled out of paying for her drinks. Él se escabulló de sus obligaciones contractuales.
He wriggled out.
Wriggled out. Como si out empezara con la D. Wriggled out.
Wriggled out of his contractual obligations.
Contractual obligations. Muy bien. Vocabulario. We're going to look at 8 more words then and just work at them. To update, first of all, which means...
Actualizar.
Good. We don't say to actualize. Actualize doesn't exist in English, okay? To expire,
Caducar.
helpless,
Desamparado.
delightful.
Encantador.
That was a word I used in the previous part when I talked about the delightful little verb to wriggle. Interesting, eh? Seguimos. Outgoing,
Extrovertido.
aisle.
Pasillo. De
Yeah.
avión. De cine.
Yeah, that's difficult to pronounce, isn't it? Aisle.
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 The pronunciation has nothing to do with the way it's written. Aisle. Okay, to split hairs.
Rizar el rizo.
And recipe.
Receta.
De cocina. Okay? A recipe. We don't say recipe nor recipe. It's recipe. Okay? Good. Let's have a go then. Tengo que actualizar mis archivos.
I have to update my files.
Good. Mi carnet de conducir caduca a final de mes.
My driving license expires at the end of the month.
Expires.
Expires.
Muy bien. La población se quedó desamparada tras las inundaciones.
The population was left.
Popu.
The population.
Popu.
Pop-
Popu.
Popu. The population was left.
Again. Come on, you can do it. You can do it, Annie. Come on.
The population
Good.
was left helpless after the floods.
Genial. Qué velada más encantadora. Muchísimas gracias.
That was a delightful evening. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you ever so much. This is the politest way of saying thank you. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you ever so much.
Thank you ever so much. Okay, thank you ever so much, Annie. And we'll go on to the next one. Desde que fue a aquel curso, John es mucho más extrovertido.
Since he went on that course, John is much more outgoing.
Much more outgoing. Good. In English we say to go on a course. Cuando en español decís ir a un curso. Okay, to go on a course. ¿Quiere un asiento al lado de la ventana o al lado del pasillo?
Would you like a window seat or an aisle seat?
Aisle.
Aisle seat.
Aisle.
Aisle seat.
Would you like a window seat or an aisle seat? Good stuff. Si seguimos rizando el rizo, no conseguiremos hacer nada.
If we keep on splitting hairs, we'll never get anything done.
Muy bien. ¿Conoces una buena receta para la tortilla de patatas? Nosotros decimos Spanish omelette.
Do you know a good recipe for Spanish omelette?
Good. I don't, do you?
Yes, I know.
Yes, I do.
Yes, I do.
Well,
Sorry.
you're going to have to give it to me after this class. Good stuff.
Okay.
Yum, yum. Gimnasia verbal, to be worth. Everybody learns the verb to be worth as the equivalent of valer, but it's much better to think of it as the equivalent of merece la pena. Because when in Spanish you say, ¿cuánto vale esto? In English we would say, how much does this cost? Okay? When we say it's worth something, we're talking about its value, its sentimental value, or what it should cost, but not necessarily what it costs. For example, I can buy a picture from you and it can cost 100 euros, but maybe it might be worth 5,000. Yeah, that's es su valor real. That's when we use worth. So normally it's best to think of worth as merece la pena, because we use it much, much more as merece la pena than valer. Okay?
Okay.
All right then. When it's followed by a verb, merece la pena hacer esto, the verb always goes in the gerund. ING, acabando en ING.
All right.
All right. For example, merece la pena ir al Museo del Prado. Sería, it's worth going to the Prado Museum.
Okay.
Is that clear?
It's that clear.
Is that clear? Are you asking me or telling me?
No, it's clear.
It's clear. Okay, thanks. I'm glad to hear it. ¿Merece la pena sacrificarse?
Is it worth making a sacrifice?
Muy bien. No merece la pena enfadarse por ello.
It isn't worth getting angry about.
It isn't worth getting angry about. Good. No merecía la pena levantarse por ello.
It wasn't worth getting up early for that.
For that, good. Or simplemente, it wasn't worth getting up for. Y punto.
Okay.
Merece la pena perseverar. To persevere in English.
It's worth preserving.
No, persevering.
Persevering.
It's worth persevering. For example, it's worth persevering with your English. There may be days when you think, oh, my English isn't going anywhere. But the more you do, the more you'll progress. And sometimes, of course, you have to accept the fact that you won't notice how much you're progressing. Bien, no merece la pena quejarse por ello.
It's not worth complaining about.
Yeah, worth.
Worth.
Más fuerte.
Worth.
Good. It's not worth complaining about. Creo que merece la pena luchar por ello.
I think it's worth fighting for.
Good. And again, we don't need to say it's worth fighting for it. Simplemente, I think it's worth fighting for is suficiente, ¿ok?
Okay.
Cambiamos.
¿Merece la pena decirles que no vengan?
Is it worth telling them not to come?
¿Merecía la pena cortarte el pelo por ello?
Was it worth getting your hair cut for?
¿Merecía la pena quedarte en casa para ver el partido?
Was it worth staying in to watch the match? Okay, we're going to look now at some examples of to be worth followed by a noun. Nice and easy, okay? But of course the meaning is still merece la pena, okay? Y no valer. Okay, we're going to look now at some examples of to be worth followed by a noun. Of course, the meaning is still merecer la pena or valer la pena. Okay, and if you can read the Spanish.
Merecía la pena el esfuerzo.
It was worth the effort.
Valía la pena la espera.
It was worth the wait.
Merecieron la pena todos los contratiempos.
It was worth the hassle. Hassle is a singular noun which is very similar to contratiempos. Okay, hassle. It's a word used quite often.
Merece la pena.
It's worth it.
No merece la pena.
It's not worth it.
Creo que no merece la pena.
I don't think it's worth it. Notice here we make the verb think, creer, negative. And merece la pena goes in the positive. Okay? I don't think it's worth it. It's much more natural than to say, I think it's not worth it. Okay? I don't think it's worth it.
¿Merece la pena?
Is it worth it? Okay, we'll look at now at a few other meanings of to be worth. ¿Cuál es su valor?
How much is it worth?
¿Cuánto me darías a cambio?
How much is it worth to you?
Significa mucho para mí.
It's worth a lot to me.
Merece la pena hacer un esfuerzo con tu inglés.
It's worth making an effort with your English.
Merece la pena hacer un esfuerzo con tu inglés.
It's worth making an effort with your English. Of
Good.
course.
Repaso de la entrega anterior, la clave del éxito. To prefer or would rather.
Preferiría no ir al cine.
I'd rather not go to the cinema.
¿Quieres un whisky o prefieres tomar un gin tonic?
Do you want a whiskey or would you rather have a gin and tonic? Prefiero que no.
Are you going to help me wash up?
I'd rather not. Otro.
Alguna gente vive en casas grandes y otra gente no.
Some people live in big houses and other people don't.
Alguna gente tiene perro y otra no.
Some people have a dog and other people don't. Verbos irregulares.
¿Quién apagó la vela?
Who blew out the candle?
¿Quién mató a Kennedy?
Who shot Kennedy?
Rod cavó un agujero ayer.
Rod dug a hole yesterday. Phrasal verb.
Me peleé con mi novia la semana pasada.
I fell out with my girlfriend last week. To go home.
¿A qué hora sueles irte a casa?
What time do you usually go home? Vocabulario.
No conozco ningún trabalenguas en español.
I don't know any tongue twisters in Spanish.
Recibí una llamada inesperada de mi tío.
I received an unexpected phone call from my uncle. Números. The plot of land is 300 meters squared. ¿Cómo de grande es la parcela?
Es de 300 metros cuadrados.
Muy bien. Verbos irregulares. Okay, we're going to look at 5 more verbs in all. Their different forms. The first verb is to break, which means, Annie?
Romper.
Good, and its past is?
Broke.
And its participle?
Broken.
The second verb is to learn.
Que significa aprender.
Okay, now learn can be regular. It can end in ed in the past, and its participle, of course, or it can end in a t. In British English, we tend to write it with a t, whereas in American English, they write ed. Doesn't really matter, but we're going to look at the irregular version of it today. The next verb, to overcome.
Que significa superar.
Good, and it works in exactly the same way as the verb to come. Come, came, come, becomes to overcome, overcame, overcome. Good, the next one is to shed.
Derramar, despojarse de cosas.
Good, for example, a snake can shed its skin, okay? And the final one, a synonym of to close, to shut,
To shut.
which means...
Cerrar.
Good, just like close. Shut, shut, shut. No cambia. Muy bien. Ok, me rompí el brazo esquiando.
I broke my arm.
Broke.
I broke my arm skiing.
Good. Él nunca superó su temor a volar.
He never overcame his fear of flying.
La tienda cerró temprano.
The shop shut early.
The shop shut early. Good. Aprendí mucho de aquella experiencia.
I learned a lot
I learned a lot.
from that experience.
Muy bien. El cerezo, que sería el cherry tree, ¿no? El cerezo, bueno, no el cherry tree, sino the cherry tree, but you know what I mean. El cerezo se despojó de sus hojas a finales de noviembre.
The cherry tree shed its
The cherry tree shed its leaves in
late November.
Late November, very good.
The cherry tree shed its leaves in late November.
Esta semana la frutería ha cerrado temprano todos los días.
The greengrocers has shut early every day this week.
Él se rompió todos sus dientes en un accidente de coche.
He broke all his teeth in a road accident.
Broke, la vez más fuerte.
Broke.
Eso es. He broke all his teeth in a road accident. ¿Te has aprendido tu papel ya?
Have you learned your lines yet?
Good. Have you learnt your lines yet? Derramé unas cuantas lágrimas en el cobertizo. Okay, un cobertizo is a shed. Just like the verb to shed, derramar. Okay?
Okay.
Entonces.
I shed a few tears in the shed.
Good. I shed a few tears, or I shed a tear or two in the shed. Muy bien. La serpiente que tengo de mascota acaba de despojarse de su piel.
My pet snake has just shed its skin.
Good. He aprendido muchas cosas en este curso.
I've learned lots of things on this course.
Good. I've learnt lots of things, or I've learnt loads of things. Muy bien. Cambiamos.
Stuart superó su timidez e invitó a Deirdre a bailar.
Stuart overcame his shyness and asked Deirdre for a dance.
Ella aprendió el papel en una noche.
She learnt the role in a night.
Él cerró la puerta, gritó y le pegó un tiro al vaquero.
Pues esta la vas a hacer tú, Annie.
He shut the door, shouted and shot the cowboy.
Muy bien. 3 verbs which sometimes cause confusion among Spaniards. Shut, shout, and shoot, whose past, of course, is shot. He shut the door, shouted, and shot the cowboy.
Ian rompió el récord británico.
Ian broke the British record.
Los monjes trapenses en aquel monasterio nunca han roto su voto de silencio.
The Trappist monks in that monastery have never broken their vow of silence.
Pronto, la actriz superó sus nervios.
The actress soon overcame her nerves.
Él se rompió el dedo cuando se lo pilló con la puerta.
He broke his finger when he shut it in the door. Annie, have you ever shut your finger in a door?
Yes.
Me too. It's
Buah.
unbelievably painful, isn't it? Se derramó mucha sangre en la guerra.
A lot of blood was shed in the war.
Good.
A continuación, escucharemos el párrafo de la semana.
Alfred Adler, a famous Austrian psychologist, once said that the chief danger in life is that we may take too many precautions. That's easy to say, especially if, like Alfred Adler, you have few financial worries. For normal people like me, I have to be extremely careful with my money and how I invest it.
Alfred Adler, a famous Austrian psychologist, once said that the chief danger in life is that we may take too many precautions. That's easy to say, especially if, like Alfred Adler, you have few financial worries. For normal people like me, I have to be extremely careful with my money and how I invest it.
Números. ¡Qué calor! Las temperaturas. We're going to look now at temperatures, as you might have guessed from the title. Okay, the point of the following exercise is to test you on your listening comprehension regarding temperatures. I'm going to read you some statements, and I want you simply to tell me if in that situation it was boiling, which means...
Hirviendo.
Sí, que hace muchísimo calor. Hot.
Caliente.
Que hace calor. Mild.
Que es templado.
Cold.
Frío.
And freezing.
Que es congelado.
Exacto, cuando hace un frío que te
mueres.
Gracias. Okay, the first one then. It's about 40 degrees outside. So what's the temperature like?
It's boiling.
It's boiling. Yeah, it's not just hot, it's boiling. It's really hot. When we arrived, it must have been about 10 degrees. What's the temperature like?
It's cold.
It's cold, good. It was 5 below zero this morning. What was the temperature like this morning?
It's freezing.
Okay. The thermometer on my car says it's 18 degrees outside. So what's the temperature like?
It's mild.
It's mild, good. When I left the house this morning, it was 68 degrees outside. And don't say it's hot or boiling. Why? Because if I say 68 degrees, I'm definitely using the Fahrenheit scale. 68 degrees is about 20 degrees, something like that. 20 degrees Celsius, okay?
Okay.
So what's the temperature like?
It's mild.
It's mild, good. It was still only 6 degrees by 10 o'clock. So what's the temperature like?
It's cold.
It's cold, okay. They told me it was about 32 where they are. What's the temperature like?
It's hot.
Okay, we don't always need to say degrees after the number. Sometimes it was about 32. It's 10 below. We don't always need to say degrees, okay? So we don't always need to say degrees, okay? It's not going to get above -5 degrees today. So what's the temperature like?
It's freezing.
Freezing. Okay, we exaggerate the vowel sound. It's freezing.
It's freezing.
Eso es. Repaso. It depends.
Ok, Richard, te voy a poner a prueba.
Venga.
Depende de la respuesta de mi hermano.
It depends on my brother's answer. ¿Qué tal?
Muy bien, me estás sorprendiendo. Depende de si se levanta con el pie izquierdo o no.
It depends whether she gets out of the wrong side of the bed or not.
Depende de si todavía tengo dolor de cabeza o no.
It depends whether or not I still have a headache. ¿Cómo se dice caducar?
To expire.
¿Y cómo se pronuncia?
Expire.
Muy bien.
Depende de lo que suceda en la próxima reunión.
It depends what happens in the next meeting. E.g. and I.e.
El equipo de rugby escocés no está jugando bien en este momento, es decir, que no tienen ni la más mínima posibilidad de ganar el mundial.
The Scottish rugby team isn't playing well at the moment, i.e. they haven't got a hope of winning the World Cup.
El mundial de rugby se ha celebrado en varios países diferentes del hemisferio sur, por ejemplo, en Nueva Zelanda, en Australia y en Sudáfrica.
The Rugby World Cup has been held in several different Southern Hemisphere countries, e.g. New Zealand, Australia and South Africa. ¿Cómo se dice pasillo?
Ahí.
Aisle.
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 Good. Vocabulario.
John tiene una personalidad extrovertida.
John has a great outgoing personality.
Odio estar sentado en el pasillo porque tienes que levantarte cada vez que otro quiere ir al baño.
I can see. I hate sitting next to the aisle because you have to get up every time someone else wants to go to the toilet.
Tendrás que darme la receta.
You'll have to give me the recipe.
Mi pasaporte está a punto de caducar.
My passport is about to expire. ¿Cómo se dice desamparado?
Helpless.
Helpless, good. To be worth.
¿Merece la pena ir al gimnasio todos los días?
Is it worth going to the gym every day?
¿Merece la pena terminar el curso de inglés?
It's worth finishing the English course.
¿Valió la espera?
It was worth the wait. Irregular verbs.
Creo que se me acaba de romper un diente.
I think I've just broken a tooth.
Creo que por fin hemos superado todas las dificultades.
I think we finally overcome all the difficulties.
¿Tu platanero se ha despojado de sus hojas ya?
Has your plane tree shed its leaves yet?
Merece la pena hacer un esfuerzo con tu inglés.
It's worth making an effort with your English. ¿Cómo se dice receta de cocina?
Recipe.
Good. Grand finale. Okay, it's time for me to get my revenge. You just tested me, now I'm gonna test you. Okay, depende de dónde lo pienses meter.
It depends where you intend to put it.
A bit faster.
It depends where you intend to put it.
Good. Tener mucho dinero no sirve de mucho si no tienes tiempo para gastarlo.
Having lots of money is not worth much if you don't have time to spend it.
Money, no money. Money.
Having lots of money, it's not...
Money is.
Okay. Having lots of money is not worth much if you don't have time to spend it.
Well done. ¿Cuándo aprendió ella a hablar inglés?
When did she learn how to speak English?
Depende de cuándo decidan avisarnos.
It depends when they decide to let us know.
Good. ¿Cómo se dice actualizar?
To update.
To update. Good. Eres un maestro en escabullarte de situaciones comprometidas, que sería you're a master at, más el gerundio.
Okay. You're a master at
Wriggling out
of tricky situations.
Okay, you're a master at wriggling out of tricky situations. Good. Los políticos son buenos en escabullirse de preguntas difíciles. Okay, to be good at. También seguido del gerundio.
Politicians are good at wriggling out of difficult questions.
¿Cómo se dice rizar el rizo?
To split hairs.
To split hairs. Good. No merece la pena preocuparse por ello.
It isn't worth worrying about it.
Worrying. Eso es, worrying. It isn't worth worrying about it. Good. Estoy encargado de todo.
I'm in charge.
Charge. Bajando la mandíbula.
I'm in charge of everything.
Good. ¿Mejoraré mi inglés con este curso?
Will I improve my English with this course?
Depende.
It depends.
¿Cómo se dice encantador?
Delightful.
Delightful. Good. ¿Y de qué depende?
What does it depend on?
What does it depend on? Good. Depende de ti, es decir, del esfuerzo que hagas.
It depends on you, i.e.
No, i.e.
i.e. It depends on the effort you make.
Okay, don't forget that. It depends on you, i.e. it depends on the effort you make. Okay?
Okay.
Is it clear?
It's clear.
Everything depends on you. Thank you very much for listening again, and you'll be hearing from us very, very soon. Bye-bye.